The movie opens by telling us that humans and trolls once lived in harmony for thousands of years, until a Christian king called Olaf came to power in Norway. He then went on to kill the trolls by exposing them to the light of the sun, nailing his sword into their heads, and not even sparing the children. The scene then cuts to the present, where a little girl named Nora listens to this tale from her father, who should not be telling her this tale. But they are interrupted by her mother, who urges Nora to go to bed. The movie then moves forward 30 years later, where we see an adult Nora. She is a paleontologist living alone in her late father's cabin in remote Norway. One day, someone arrives at her doorstep, and she's shocked to realize it was just her friend Andreas, who has come to seek her help. After a brief chat, he reveals that he serves as the Prime Minister's advisor and invites Nora to accompany him to the Vemork power station, where he wants to show her something that will pique her interest. It turns out the two friends once worked together to capture a troll that was loose in the mountains, but things went sideways and Nora chose to abandon the project. She refuses to go with him again, but when her friend assures her this time it's different, she finally agrees. Following this, the two board a helicopter, and on the way, Andreas makes Nora sign an NDA. Upon arriving at the station, Nora is stunned to discover that the authorities are holding a massive troll named Jotun captive. The creature exhibits faint signs of a pulse, indicating that he is still alive and is in a state of hibernation. To ensure he doesn't break free, the team has set up ultraviolet lights capable of instantly turning the troll to stone if it tries to cause chaos. Next, Nora meets an evolutionary biologist named Marion, who is also working on the secret project. Marion is not pleased to see Nora and privately asks Andreas why they had to involve her, to which he replies that they need Nora if they don't want the project shut down. Marion then explains to Nora that upon reviewing the test results, they've learned that Jotun's DNA is compatible with the bark of a tree, the most boring scientific discovery ever made. Nora points out that trolls are made of earth and stone, so it's only natural that their DNA would be closer to trees than humans. Marion goes on to reveal that they want to perform all kinds of experiments on the troll for their research, but they have no idea how to safely wake the creature. Just then, Andreas introduces Nora to a staff member named Sigrid, who turns out to be his wife and pregnant. The team then reveals that they have managed to recover King Olaf's half-page of troll law from the year 1030, in which he stated that the trolls would be expelled from these lands. Nora doesn't understand what they are trying to do, so Andreas explains that they suspect there are other trolls in the mountains, but so far they haven't been able to locate them. They fear that these trolls could get out of control, so they need to learn everything about them and how to contain them. There hasn't been much progress in their research, so they want Nora to help before the government shuts down the project. Upon hearing this, Nora is unsure what to do, so she tells them that she needs to use the bathroom first. In truth, she slips into the hall where Jotun is being held and climbs onto a makeshift elevator to observe the creature. She gently touches Jotun's face, then closes her eyes and begins to hum a nursery rhyme about trolls that her father used to teach her. In a shocking twist, this actually rouses the troll, who stares at her in stunned bewilderment.
Who is singing Hoodly Boodly Doodly?
Upon seeing this, all the scientists erupt into panic, and realizing the troll is moving, they rush to activate the ultraviolet lights. But Marion intervenes, insisting she won't let the creature die, as she needs him alive for the research. As they debate on what to do, Marion accidentally spills coffee onto the UV switch, preventing the lights from turning on. The troll then goes into a frenzy and snaps the chains that held him captive. Nora tries to flee, but the creature flings the elevator with her inside. Andreas pulls her to safety just in time, and the terrified people begin running away from there. Jotun then rampages through the lab, smashing equipment and killing many of the staff. Amid the chaos, Nora, Andreas, Sigrid, Marion, and a few other team members narrowly escape the destruction. After demolishing the entire facility, Jotun finally emerges outside and heads towards the mountains. The remaining survivors report to a military base, where they meet a soldier named Major Chris, who turns out to be a close friend of Nora's. The soldiers then take them to meet the Norwegian Prime Minister to discuss what must be done next. Nora argues that trolls are living beings with feelings, and there must be a way for humans to make peace with them, but Marion insists that they are dangerous creatures that must be contained, sparking a heated argument between the two women. Just then, the Prime Minister arrives for the meeting and states that he always feared this project would go wrong, which proved to be true now. The over-under on that bet probably wasn't even worth taking. Marion asks him to give them more time to capture the creature, but the Prime Minister makes it clear the troll must be eliminated before it harms any more innocent lives. lives. An upset Nora disagrees and reminds him that a few years ago, they turned an innocent troll to stone. But the Prime Minister points out how his brother died back then because Nora instructed the military to ring church bells in front of the troll. He makes it clear that this time, the safety of his people comes above all else. After the meeting, Nora is seen holding a piece of stone when Andreas approaches her, and she reveals that the stone is a fragment of the troll that was killed last time.
Is that his Johnson?
Yeah.
She's still dealing with guilt, so Andreas consoles her, telling her that people learn from their mistakes so they can keep fighting. This motivates Nora, and she approaches Chris, who is preparing his soldiers to hunt the troll. She insists that she wants to join them, but Chris refuses, saying she's just a civilian and he can't risk her life, when Nora reminds him that he owes it to her father, who was killed by a troll during the last mission. Chris feels guilty and finally agrees to let her and Andreas come with them. Moments later, Marion arrives and flirts with Chris, so he decides to take her along as well.
Jag har en troll i buxemamine.
Next, Chris shows them two specialized helicopters they've developed, each equipped with ultraviolet lights so powerful they could destroy a troll in seconds. Chris decides to pilot one himself, while his colleague and close friend Amir takes the other. The group is now ready to depart, but before leaving, Andreas calls Sigrid, who urges him to stay safe and not try to be a hero. The scene then cuts to a club that night, where a large crowd is dancing and enjoying themselves. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble, so people look up and see Jotun's massive face looming above them. But instead of fleeing, many people get excited and start recording the troll on their phones. However, Jotun wastes no time in smashing the building and kills many people, while even devouring a few of them. Moments later, the military finally arrives with the helicopters and activates the ultraviolet lights, causing the troll to start burning. But to everyone's surprise, Jotun fights back fiercely, grabbing a light pole and tossing it at a helicopter. During this, Amir's helicopter is fatally damaged, so realizing he won't make it, he tells Chris goodbye. His helicopter then crashes straight down, triggering an explosion that kills everyone on board. This leaves Chris devastated, so Nora urges him not to do anything reckless, warning that it would only provoke the troll. A grieving Chris ignores her and charges straight at the creature, but to everyone's shock, Jotun simply growls at them and walks away. In the aftermath, the authorities arrive to take care of the dead bodies, while a distraught Chris approaches his fallen friend and grieves for him. Marion then admits that she did not realize the trolls could be so ruthless, but Nora insists that not all of them are like this, and that this particular one seems dangerous. She argues that the troll who was killed last time only wanted to go home, and even if some trolls are aggressive, it's all because of humans. Nora says she knows someone who can communicate with this aggressive troll, and comes up with an idea.
I am going to call the Hingus Vingus man.
The next morning, Nora leads Andreas, Chris, and Marion to the Dover Mountains, where they enter a cave. According to legend, the ancient colonizers decided to eliminate the Troll King, so they captured his son and placed him in a pit, hoping it would serve as a deadly lure for the father. But when the Troll King appeared, he was far stronger than anticipated, and he avoided all the traps, but never found his son. The group then discovers a sticky substance in the pit, with Christian symbols etched into the rocks to maximize pain to the poor trolls. The scene then cuts to a place in Gudbrandsdalen Valley, where an old man is seen with his dog, who begins barking incessantly. The ground starts to tremble, and the old man's eyes widen in horror as he notices Jotun approaching. The massive troll walks straight toward the house, tramples it completely, and then moves on, leaving the old man horrified. Back with the group, they arrive in front of a deep pit where Nora taps a rock, after which a troll emerges from the darkness. He turns out to be the son of the Troll King who had been hiding all these years. Nora seems to share a connection with the creature, so she places her hands on his face and hums a song. The troll not only appears to understand, but also responds with a growl, which fascinates everyone. Nora instructs Andreas to do the same, and he also manages to communicate with the troll, which excites him. Nora reveals that she has named him Beautiful and tells the troll that she has come because she needs his help. Later, the group is seen outside in the snow, where Nora fires a flare into the sky, which manages to attract the attention of Jotun. He begins moving toward her when all of a sudden, Beautiful rises up from the snow to defend Nora. Jotun is pissed off by this, and the two trolls begin to growl aggressively at each other. They begin clashing, but Jotun seems much stronger, and he hits the ground so hard that he throws Beautiful under the ice. The poor poor troll struggles to get out. While Nora watches helplessly but can't intervene, Jotun tries to attack the group, so they board the helicopter and manage to escape just in time, leaving the little poor baby troll there to die and drown. Upon returning to the military base, Nora becomes extremely sad over losing Beautiful and tells Marion how the troll never felt safe outside the cave. He feared the open landscape and only stepped out because she asked him to. She feels guilty for bringing him outside, but Marion tries to comfort her, saying it's not her fault, even though it absolutely is. While studying the route on Nora's map, Marion notices that the troll's path mirrors the old pilgrimage road to Trondheim. They realize the troll isn't wandering randomly. He is heading to Trondheim, which was Norway's capital long ago and where King Olaf used to rule. This means that Jotun is seeking revenge, and the group now decides to head there to stop him. In the next scene, the group arrives at Trondheim, where they visit an old cathedral and meet a historian named Esther, who used to be Nora's father's friend. She wrote a book mentioning that Olaf's remains had not been found, but it was believed they were hidden in the underground tunnels of the cathedral. Nora tells her about what is happening, so Esther takes them to the tunnels and admits that she doesn't understand why the church hid the celebrated king in such a secluded place. It seems like the church and Olaf weren't on good terms, but she doesn't understand why. While they are searching for clues in the tunnel, Andreas touches Olaf's mural, and a large chunk of the painting falls to the ground. The group then notices 3 holes in the mural, exactly where Olaf had been stabbed during his final battle. They insert iron rods into the holes and twist them, which shockingly reveals a hidden space behind the wall. Inside, they discover a spring called Olaf's Spring, where there is a massive coffin hidden. Without wasting any time, the group opens the coffin and is shocked to find Olaf's remains still intact inside. There is also his silver sword, along with the missing half of the troll law that the team discovered before. Andreas takes a photo of the inscription and sends it to Sigrid, asking her to piece it together with the other half. Once the fragments are joined, the meaning becomes clear, and the group is stunned to realize that Olaf never intended to eliminate the trolls. Instead, he wanted to give them a piece of land where they could live peacefully. However, the church opposed this decision, so they murdered Olaf and hid his body there before carrying out a troll massacre in his name. Nora finally realizes that Jotun is not heading here to take revenge on Olaf, but on the people of Norway instead. However, the group believes that the church may have developed methods to kill trolls and decides to find it. Chris is confused about the silver sword, which seems useless as a weapon. Nora then dips a knife into the church's holy water before testing it on a stone fragment of a troll. The blade cuts through the stone effortlessly, and they realize that the true power lies in the holy water, not in the sword itself. Nora and the group decide to fight to protect the city, calling in the military and even enlisting local civilians for the mission. They bring holy water from Olaf's Spring and store it in tanks fitted with detonators. Nora then asks Andreas to return home to his pregnant wife, since the mission will be dangerous, but he chooses to stay behind because nothing is scarier than becoming a dad to defend his nation. The scene then cuts to night as Jotun finally arrives while tearing through everything in his path. The military begins shooting at him while Andreas and Esther ring the cathedral bells, which forces the creature to cover his ears as the sound overwhelms him. In a desperate rage, he uproots a tree and hurls it towards the cathedral to silence the bells. The crowd realizes that they have angered the beast, so most of them run away in panic. Chris detonates the holy water explosives, but the plan isn't very effective and doesn't do much except damage. When all hope seems lost, Beautiful, who turns out to still be alive, suddenly appears and begins fighting Jotun. Marion tells Nora that trolls are hard on the outside but soft on the inside, and that their heart is the true center of their power. If they can manage to drop a barrel of holy water into the mouth of the creature, it is certain that he will die. Meanwhile, the trolls are exchanging epic blows as Beautiful punches Jotun in the face, but the older troll crushes him against a bridge. He proves far stronger and even dunks Beautiful's head into the lake to try to drown him. Next, Chris and Andreas get into a helicopter to try to drop the last barrel of holy water onto the giant, but there's a problem. The detonator has fallen off. This means that someone must jump with the explosive and pull the pin at the very last second. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Andreas decides to make the ultimate sacrifice. He makes a video call to Sigrid to say goodbye and asks her to tell their son that his dad died being a Superman. Sigrid begs him not to do it, but Andreas says there is no other option. Fatherhood is just too damn scary, and apologizes. When Jotun opens his massive mouth, Andreas ends the call and jumps out of the helicopter. He activates the grenade right before he gets swallowed by the creature. Seconds later, an explosion occurs, and the blast destroys the creature from within. At this moment, Beautiful rises once more and tears out what is left of Jotun's heart. In the end, Trondheim is saved, but Andreas' sacrifice leaves Nora devastated. The scene then cuts to a few months later, where Esther unveils a new exhibition re-examining Olaf's legacy. Nora has returned to her remote cabin, where Chris, Marion, Sigrid, and her newborn baby are seen together. Outside, Beautiful is seen strolling, and he seems no longer fearful of the open world. The movie ends as Beautiful checks on Nora to make sure she's safe before heading off into the mountains.